Welcome once again to my platform on finance. We are continuing Mathematics of Finance. Under Mathematics of Finance, today we are going to find out how to calculate interest rate. Recall that our formula, future value of money is equal to present value of money, 1 plus R, all raised to power n. If you can still recall, FV is the future value of money. PV is the present value of money. This is just one whole number. Our R here is interest rate, and this R is raised to the power of n. So what you are seeing on this board is that the question, we have been given the future value of money on the board. We have been given the present value of money. We have been given the number of years, which is n, and we're looking for R, and that's what we call interest rate. In a simple language from this question, suppose I invest 2,000 today. That today means present value is 2,000 naira. And the question says, supposing and you doubled your investment. To double it means this 2,000 multiplied by 2. That will give us the future value. That is 4,000 naira. Future value, 4,000 naira. And the number of years, which is n, duration, is 5 years. And our R, which is interest rate or rate of interest, we're looking for rates. So that means with this formula on the board, doing what they call changing subject of what formula, we can find R without stress. Without wasting much of our very good time, looking at the question very well, you can see for yourself that the present value is 2,000. That is the money today. The future value, doubling it, multiplying this by 2, that will be 4,000. Number of years is still 5 years. R is what we're looking for. Moving closely to this side, without wasting much of our time, we have here future value equal to present value into 1 plus R, all raised to power n. So, a simple substitution, this will be 4,000, this will be 2,000, and this is 1 plus R, all raised to power 5. We'll try to divide both sides by 2,000, like this, all over 2,000, equal to 1 plus R, all raised to the power of 5. Divide this, you have 2, 1 plus R, all raised to the power of 5. This is 5. This 5 means 5 over 1. Remove it. It becomes 2 raised to power 1 over 5, equal to 1 plus R. Applying the idea of law of indices, you are seeing 5 raised to power 5 means 5 over 1. Removing that 5 over 1 to go to the left-hand side of the equation, it will change from 5 over 1 to 1 over 5 on 2. And I'm going to press the calculator to find 2 raised to power 1 over 5 or 2 raised to power 0.5, which I believe you can also point. As you can see, 2 raised to power 1 over 5, using the calculator to run this. Using my calculator here. Calculator. We have here 2 whole number raised to the power of 1 over 5. 1 over 5 is the same thing as 0.2 raised to the power of 0.2. We'll have 1 1.1487 equal to 1 plus R. Very simple. Having calculated that, you do what they call collection of like time. 1.1487 minus 1 equal to R. This will be 0.1487 equal to what? R. From all indications, it shows that 0.147 is same thing as a 14.87%, and that will be our interest rate. That's how to calculate that. If you don't like that approach, a formula for interest rate which you can use also exists. You can go this way. Alternatively, our interest rate formula is R equal to the square root of future value all over present value minus one whole number. The formula is R equal to n roots, like this. So this is our formula. This is one whole number. From all indication, if you don't want to go through the original formula the way I have used it, you can conveniently use the formula on the board. Interest rate or rate of interest is equal to the n root of the future value all over the present value minus one whole number. In this case, you don't need stress. All you just need to do straight away is the number of years is 5. You just put 5 here into 4,000 all over 2,000 is already made formula minus 1. All you need to do here is fifth root of 2 minus 1, and fifth root of this is 1.1487 minus 1, and it gives you 0.1487, and your interest rate is straight away 14.87%. Any of the two methods can be administered, and you will get the same result. So when you're asked to calculate interest rates, when it comes to mathematics of finance, in the previous class, we'll look at mathematics of finance. We'll look for future value of money. We'll look for future value of money compounding yearly, future value of money compounding quarterly, and all the rest of it. We also look at future value of money compounding continuously. And in this same formula of mathematics of finance, there is R there. So what I've just done now was to calculate that. Some other time we'll learn how to calculate N, and some other time we'll learn how to calculate present value. Stay tuned as we progress in this particular course. God bless you. Any question, you can put in the comment section. If you need a one-on-one private, online private class, you can call. God bless you. See you next time. Bye. You're welcome to the next class on financial accounting. Good day, everyone. I still remain author St. Vin. I'm going to explain more on how to extract a trial balance as far as accounting is what concerned. Without wasting much of our time, when we say trial balance is not an account, but a list, L-I-X-T, a list of all ledger balances or extracts. The purpose of preparing trial balance is to determine arithmetical accuracy, to know whether additions done in the ledger when posting to ledger are all in order. And for trial balance, the two sides must agree. Transactions on the debit side of the trial balance and transactions on the credit side of the trial balance must agree. if you have entered the necessary transaction that should be on the debit side of the trial balance and the one that should be on the credit side of the trial balance. There's nothing like trial balance did not balance. No. That could be an error which could be corrected. But when you are giving question examination, especially those of us preparing for WAEC, sometimes WAEC examination will give you a list of transactions and tell you to extract a trial balance. After extracting trial balance, you will now be asked to prepare final account, which will trading profit and loss account to balance sheets, or at a higher level, they will tell you to prepare an income statement. They will tell you to prepare statement of profit or loss for the year ended, or tell you to prepare a statement of the financial position as at whichever date it is. But as far as trial balance is concerned, whether at secondary school level or at higher institution like graduate and postgraduate, you cannot do with a trial balance. Because in most cases, the questions will be given to you in a trial balance. And you need to understand what trial balance is all about. This is how trial balance looks like. Look at the board. This is trial balance. Let's assume this belongs to same thing. Trial balance as at trial balance will go like this way, this way, this way. This folio may not be necessary, but just to explain to some who are just seeing the trial balance for the first time, this is names of accounts, not particulars, names of accounts. This is folio. The folio may not be there in exam. In examination, when they give you trial balance, they will remove the folio and just write debit and what? Credit. This is the debit side, and this is the what? The credit side. This debit side has transactions that must be there, and the credit side has transactions that should be there. Take note. On the debit side of any trial balance that you see, all you will see there are assets and expenses. Assets and expenses. A good student of accounting must understand examples of assets. Buildings, typewriter, whether assets of fixed or current, whether assets of whichever type of assets, whether it is non-current assets. Instead of fixed assets, they may say it's non-current assets. So, and then current assets. So, examples of assets, whether fixed assets or non-current assets and current assets. The examples should be embedded in you. Non-current assets like motor vehicle, typewriter, buildings, and so on. Then current assets like debtors, closing stock, and so on. Expenses, all examples of expenses, as far as an account student is concerned, you should have idea of examples of expenses like rent, discount allowed, motor expense, and so on. And on this side, we have liabilities. Liabilities must be on the credit side. Liabilities and incomes. As an account student, you should understand the examples of liabilities. Liabilities are debts, and liabilities are split into two. We have the long-term liability and the current liability. Sometimes that long-term liability will say is non-current liabilities. And then why we have current liability? They are all debts. Loan are long-term. Debenture, long-term. Current liabilities like creditors, bills payable, and so on. Those are examples of liabilities. Income. You remember examples of income? Purchases is an income. Discount received is an income. All examples of income that you know will be at the credit side. When they will give you question, they will give you a list of transactions made up of assets, expenses, liabilities, income. You are to choose from this list of transactions and fill them in on the debit side if they are assets and expenses. Fill them on the credit side if they are liabilities and what? Income. But there are exceptions to all this. There are some transactions. They are not assets. They are not liabilities. They are not incomes. They are not expenses. But you have knowledge of double and to put them where they should be. One of the exceptions are what we call drawings. Drawings is not the same thing as withdrawal. Withdrawal is when you take money from the bank, but drawings is that amount of money you take out of business, out of your business for your own personal purpose. Remember, in accounting, there's what we call entity concept. Entity concept. That word entity concept simply means there is separation between the owner of the business and the business. So the same thing, as the owner of the business, you should not just be taking money from the business at will. You should have your own salary. And that's why when you have your own salary, in most cases, drawings will not occur because drawings is indiscipline. Every now and then you pick money and use it for your own personal interest, not in the interest of the business. Because if it is used in the interest of the business, we can say, is there expenses for this or income for that or what have you? There will be a name to it. But when you use money from the purse of the organization for your own personal purposes, it's called drawings. And drawings has a double entry. It's always debited to the trial balance and credited to the cash book. Drawings always debited to the trial balance and credited to the cash book. So when you're preparing trial balance and you see drawings, it will go to the debit side of the trial balance. Another one to remember is what we call returns. Returns inwards. Returns inwards is always debited. Another name for returns inwards is the same thing as sales returns. So when you see them write in examination, sales returns or returns inwards, the double entry allows returns inwards to be debited to the trial balance. So at that point, anytime you see returns inwards, it will be a debit side of the trial balance because this returns inwards is not an asset, it's not liability, it's not expenses, it's not income, but the double entry allows us to put it that place I'll put it. So the next one is called purchases returns. Purchases returns, which is also the same thing as returns outwards. Our knowledge of double entry, if you have prepared returns outwards journal before, your knowledge of double entry allows you to know that returns outwards account will always be credited to the trial balance. So when you see returns outwards in a question demanding that you should extract a trial balance, you know that returns outwards will be at the credit side. Finally, we have what we call provisions for anything. Whether provisions for bad debt or provision for statutory reserve or provision for depreciation or provisions, the double entry allows it to be credited to the trial balance. My audience, thank you for watching. This is how to extract a trial balance. And if you have done it very well, the two sides must agree if you have entered the right figures there. If the right figures has been entered on the debit side, entered on the credit side, the trial balance will agree. And without your knowledge of trial balance, accounting could be a little bit challenging. Because if you don't know trial balance, you cannot prepare final accounts or income statement. Because in WAEC examination or JAM or undergraduate, especially undergraduate, and the JAM, WAEC, where you need to write, because even the CBT examination you are going to do, when it comes to theory, you just look at the question from the system, and you must use your hand, Bible, to write the theory. Is the objective that will be CBT all through, whereby you look at the question, you click. But when it comes to the essay part of it, you only look at the system and see the question, and a booklet will be given to you where you're going to solve practically for the theory. So the same thing, when you're asked to extract a trial balance in accounting, you need to look at the transaction and follow this principle, put on debit, put on credit, and then these are the four exceptions: drawings, this, that does not fall under these four categories of assets, liability, income, and expenditure that you will add. And when you add all that, and you have done a very good job, when you press your calculator very well, things on the debit side will agree with that thing on the what? Credit side. On that note, if you have questions, you can put in the comment section. God bless you. And that's all for today's class on financial accounting. Good day, everyone. This is Teach Yourself Advanced Mathematics. Teach Yourself Advanced Mathematics. We're going to look at advanced maths, which is similar to what they call further maths for SS1, SS2, SS3. I'm going to take a question from my textbook, Teach Yourself Advanced Mathematics. And that's the question I wrote on the board about polynomials. Polynomial is made up of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Polynomial is the combination of linear functions, quadratic functions, cubic function, quartic function, and so on. And a question like this is given, we'll apply what they call long division. By going this way, the polynomial will be here, which is a cubic function in this case. The divisor, minus 1 plus x squared, is the same thing as x squared minus 1. For you to carry out proper solution so that we can get the quotient, the highest power of the polynomial, which is x raised to power 3, will divide the highest power of the divisor, which is x raised to power 2. When you divide this, you get x, and the x will be here. You use the x to multiply the divisor. X times x2 will be x raised to power 3. X times minus 1 is x. And you can see that the next term is 7x squared. That means the coefficient of 7x squared, the coefficient of x squared does not exist. So you write 0x squared. Then x times minus 1 will be what? Minus 1. You now carry out subtraction. This x3 minus x3 is 0. 7x squared minus 0. What you're seeing here is 0. 0x squared means 0. Which means 0 is multiplying x squared. So you're having x 7x squared minus x minus x, which simply means, this is what I'm simply saying here, minus x minus x. It means minus x plus x. And that means you owe x, or you owe 1x, and you have 1x. The result will be what? 0. That is the working for that. So, this is the result here. So, we bring down the next number, which is minus 7. The new polynomial is now 7x squared minus 7. So the highest power for this 7x squared minus 7 is 7x squared. That's the algebra that is higher. But the divisor is still the same. When you divide, you have 7. And that 7 is plus 7. We'll put plus 7 here. So 7 times x squared will be 7x squared. And plus 7 times minus 1 will be minus 7. And when you subtract, it's 0, which simply means it has no remainder. Our quotient, the solution to this problem, is x plus 7. When you use this x plus 7 to multiply x squared minus 1, it will give us back the original polynomial. And that is how to solve this problem. I hope you will find this interesting. If you have questions, please put it in the comment section. Remember, this topic is called polynomial. And in polynomials, you have addition of polynomials, you have subtraction of polynomials, you have multiplication of polynomials, and this is division of polynomial. Remember, I have to put 0 here because the result of multiplying the divisor with the result did not produce a coefficient of x squared. We have to put 0. 0x squared means it's 0, nothing is there. Just to help us carry out proper subtraction. On that note, more questions, addition, subtraction, you can still find it in my textbook, Teach Yourself Advanced Mathematics. Get copies, practice more, and ask questions. God bless you. And that's all for today.